everyone, to this Sunday Live. I'm kind of changed my setup a little bit here in the studio, so I'm hoping audio is kind of okay. So I've been using in-ears for a little while, and that was going pretty well. And right, thank you. And but I've been experimenting with trying to work a little bit on figuring out how to kind of do the studio monitors again and experimenting with bringing back the backing tracks and stuff. Oh, thanks. Good to hear, John. And so I'm gonna talk a little bit about a tune that some of the members have been working on, and that is YouTube members, and that is But Beautiful. So I'm gonna improvise a little bit on the chord changes, and then I might give some tips and things on playing voicings and kind of harmonizing melody notes, things like that. So I'm gonna change my view here. So there are a few things that are just kind of a few voicings and choices that I wanted to include here just then in order to illustrate some of the things that I'll be talking about today. And so one of the reasons I chose this tune, and aside from just being a really great tune, but beautiful, is that Jimmy Van Heusen used this particular progression in quite a few of his compositions, or the segment I'm going to talk about right now, which is to play, let's say, a 1 chord and then have this kind of 2-5 to the 2 chord, and then a 2-5 to the 3 chord, or maybe even back to the 1 chord, put 1 over 3 here. And then another little bit of a variation of that is to take, rather than doing the 2 5s, is to take a diminished chord, which might be kind of maybe a slightly older style, but it's still really cool, I think. And so you kind of walk up like that. So one thing that we talked about was what is the relatedness between this, let's say, G sharp diminished, and the so there's kind of one chord there that we're thinking about, versus the two chords that make up the 2 5 progression. So one thing that's kind of interesting about it is that if you were to take let's say this is let's say we take this E7 flat 9. So this is E7 flat 9. I'm gonna go over the fingerings a little bit in case you need those. So I'm playing finger 1 over, I'm barring strings 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So mainly trying to pluck that second string and that fourth string. And then second finger on string 5, fret 7, third finger on string 3, fret 7. Okay, so that's E7 flat 9. Okay. So that's the 5 to 1. So it's sort of what's known as a secondary dominant. So we're in the key of G, but we're going, 5 1 in A minor. So okay. So I'm not going to get in that too much, but I'm sure there are a lot of questions about that. But I have explained that a little bit in some other videos. But kind of the main point I want to focus on here is this. So what if you take, and maybe you can even play this along with me. So we have this part. What if we took this note for comparison's sake and took it down here? You may have noticed on some of the other progressions, I actually left it there. So this is a diminished 7th chord, B diminished 7. And so it's the same thing that we did a moment ago, but I just took the second finger over to here, right? Right. So doesn't that shape look an awful lot like that G sharp diminished that I was kind of having substitute for the whole 2 5, right? Now, kind of the reason for that is that when you look at all of the inversions for a diminished 7th chord, it's kind of unique because they're all the same shape, right? So you might even call these by different names. You might say, okay, G sharp diminished, B diminished, D diminished, F diminished. So I'm just taking that one shape, moving it 3 frets at a time. So that particular chord is symmetrical. So all minor third intervals. So that's one way. Okay, so it's a similar sound. It's related by sound. It's a similar kind of sound, right? So we have one note difference. So let's take a moment to check out the chord that came before it, which was the B minor 7 flat 5. Right. Let me go over that with you too for folks who may not be familiar with it. It's finger 1 on string 2, fret 6. Finger 2 on string 6, fret 7. Finger 3 on string 4, fret 7. And finger 4 on string 3, fret 7. Forgive me if I got any of those mixed up. I hope I didn't, because I want to I want you to be able to get it. So if you haven't done this one before, or if it's still fairly new, just understand that it's a little bit uncomfortable for the hand to play and the fingers, at least I find. But we need to know it just as well as anything else. So let's compare this one, right? So we compared E7 flat 9 to B diminished 7. Let's compare this. This one has another name, B minor 7 flat 5. You can also call it B half diminished. So that gives us a little clue that we're not that far away. And the name is a little misleading because half you'd think half of the notes were different, but it's not. We're just going to take this one note here and lower it. Okay, and then that's the B diminished. Right, so it's just a one note difference. So that's where you could take, and again, this, of course, this one, we could view it as an inversion or just something that has all the same notes as this one. So when I play G, into that, so that's that one variation with the diminished, just one chord there, and then there's the G going to the 2, 5, right? So that's, there's a kind of interesting relationship there. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee here. This is a pretty cool mug one of my students gave me for Christmas. He's really into the Beatles, and I like the Beatles, so pretty cool mug. I've done a couple videos on some Beatles tunes. I think I did Blackbird. I did a melody video for that, and I did the kind of steel string guitar video. I think I put that on a different channel though. So that's a fun one. So a bunch of those tunes, I think there are a couple even in the real book, like what is it? Michelle maybe. And I think some yesterday. I think that one might be in there. And but a lot of really cool tunes. Eleanor Rigby, I used to play that one a bunch, and I did a video on that one. So that's a really cool one. I should do a video on Yesterday. That would be really cool. I used to play that one live as well, and in a little hotel outside of Seattle, and people loved it every time I played that tune. So it's really cold here in the studio, and I'm not particularly warmed up, so I'm gonna try to play as much as I can. I always have to, this is something like I'm sure can help folks out there too, is playing within the limits that you currently have, and some of those are just weather conditions, and whether or not you've kind of warmed up and stuff. So John says the Beatles equals the reason he started playing guitar in 1964. Awesome. That's great. Yeah, so many great tunes, and I think they did so much for guitar, just having just kind of creating that excitement, like, oh, well, play that tune and everything. All right, so I'm gonna noodle a little bit. Let me know if you have any questions or anything, but I'm gonna start talking a little bit about um, maybe harmonizing some melody. Originally, I thought this morning thought I'd warm up a little bit and play it a little bit more, but it's been really cold here. I'm on the East Coast these days, and it's been just really really cold, like in the teens, and so all last week I basically just kind of stayed out of the studio. This studio is my kind of my basement studio, um, with the green screens and stuff, and so it gets really cold down here, and so but it's supposed to warm up today, but. All right, so maybe I'll just kind of go through it, but maybe I'll noodle around a little bit with it. Maybe do some single lines, and um, if you want to ask any questions about anything or anything, I could kind of give my take on. Um, music is a real kind of humbling thing to work on and pursue. So I'll um, you know give my best take on it. Sometimes folks ask me about some scales. I'm like, whoa, I think someone asked me about what was the name of it. And sometimes I don't, even quite know the name, but I think it was like this kind of scale. And they were asking me about melodic major. And if I just were to take the name of that and just take that as in its literal value, I would think to me melodic major would just kind of be the major scale. But I researched it, and so folks were talking about this scale, which is I guess one of the modes of the melodic minor. So yeah, but if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll give you my take on it. So I'll play around a little bit with about beautiful, and hopefully I'll get a little warm up in the process. Thanks for checking this out. So just to get back a little bit to some of the themes and what I was thinking about with this tune as being really kind of instructive, and I've talked about this quite a bit at various times on the channel, and that is to take a 2 chord. So let's say this B minor 7 flat 5. Let me walk you through this in case case it's helpful. So first finger on string 2, fret 6. Finger 1 on string 4, fret 7. Finger 3 on string 3, fret 7. And finger 4 on string 1, fret 7. So this is the third inversion of a B minor 7, flat 5. Another way to kind of look at it is take that chord that we had a moment ago, root position, take this note on string 6 up 2 octaves, leave everything else in place, and that's what we have. So it's sort of an interesting and kind of cool phenomenon that when we go to the 5 chord, so this is B minor 7 was a 2 chord, and we go to the E7 flat 9, the 5 chord, we can play this diminished 7th chord. I don't want to make this overly complicated, but I'm going to name some things, but just know that that's this type of chord. But if you took it for its root note there, that's a G sharp. So you can say, okay, that's G sharp diminished. We put that over the E, so over just means that those notes are higher, and then have a low E. So then we can say, okay, that's an E7 flat 9. So what's kind of cool is that any inversion of B minor 7 flat 5 will kind of resolve itself to that same kind of shape of the diminished chord, right? So notice that these diminished chords here, so let's say this one, putting this all over E. Okay. Notice these are all the same four notes actually, and the same shape. They're just kind of scrambled around. And that's why maybe in some kind of older movies, you can even hear this kind of, maybe not exactly that technique, but you kind of get the idea of, it's sort of, build suspense, like something's going to happen, right? And then kind of resolves. So this is an interesting kind of phenomenon where you say, okay, B minor 7 flat 5 to E7, but we're using this diminished chord. B minor 7 flat 5 to this diminished chord here. Another thing that's kind of cool, and let's listen to how this sounds, is if you play so what I'm doing there is playing just the root of the 5 chord, and then I'm allowing this this chord, so it's somewhere kind of in between that B minor 7 flat 5 and the E7. So it's really kind of an E7 sus flat 9, and then you bring in the 3rd. So that gives us a little like kind of intermediary sort of chord that's not quite the B half diminished, and it's not quite the E7 flat 9, but you can kind of choose that one root. So then it gives you a couple of different options. So when we're thinking about that chord change, you might play and decide to play more of a diminished sound, and then hit this. Now you could take that diminished sound, maybe play another inversion, kind of circle that chord, right? So that's a pretty kind of neat thing to try too. Or you can take this and play B minor 7 flat 5 to E 7 flat 9, and then to the A minor, right? Or like what I was just saying, you could go to also do the straight to the 5 of the 2. So you go, right? So you get all of that, and then what I mentioned earlier is another option. You and then we have maybe that sus, and then so it kind of depends on what motions and what sounds. So John says jazz. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Yeah, if I understand you um, correctly, yeah, that's sort of we're improvising, we're making different choices, and kind of tying in our taste or what the moment kind of provides, and that's a fun thing about jazz and playing jazz, and um, especially with other folks, if you have a jazz guitar friend in the area, or someone maybe even play out with, or just play around for fun, is to kind of keep your ear out for maybe those little different options. You're like following the changes, and maybe changing a couple things around. So another thing we've been doing with the YouTube members, um, which is grown in a pretty decent community. Really happy with the direction it's been going. But another little thing is we try to check out some musicians on a particular tune and see what they're doing a little bit. And so we checked out Earl Clue, and if you get a chance, there's a transcription out there. I think it's by another YouTuber who has quite a really nice following. I have to look him up again. But so I found his transcription, and we talked a little bit about it, and kind of the purpose is a little bit more to pull concepts more so than really actually play and try to learn that as an arrangement, but some pretty interesting things there too. So another thing tying into John's comment on jazz there is we can insert chord changes into some things. So maybe rather than sitting on this for 4 beats and then moving to this for 2 each, maybe play something like G for 2 beats, and then have a little kind of passing chord, or something, a little bit of movement in the bass, right? You take a couple perspectives on that, but you could say, okay, maybe you take G major and make it minor for a moment. There's one of those things that we just talked about. But essentially, what Earl Clue was doing was taking something like a G major 7. Let me change my screen here. G major 7, and then playing this. Okay, so like a C 13, but third inversion. So you get this, and then over to this kind of chord. But kind of that concept is, take something, or rather, and maybe insert a chord change there. Another little takeaway that we we had there um, from Earl Clue is the idea of creating motion within a chord. So you could create motion by inserting new chords between other chords. You can create motion within a chord. So you could take A minor, for example, and maybe play around with different tones that are, so you have A minor 7, but maybe have a moment where it's a minor major 7. And another really kind of cool thing, and I'm not playing, I am sort of playing some of the specifics, but just a little more conceptual here. But playing open strings. So if we're on a guitar, sometimes I think we start to pull away a little bit from the open strings because we want to learn all these different chords and things all over the neck and maybe get independent of the open strings. But we can also use those open strings to make really, really cool chord sounds, um, especially up in this area of the neck where we can get some half steps and things. So when one of the voicings, and this is probably not the exact voicing, but where he played something like this, these two notes kind of together. So maybe something like this, I think. So wow, what a kind of cool chord. How can you get this tone and this tone, these two notes ringing against each other without kind of overextending the hand in some way? I could kind of do this, and maybe get this over here. That's really kind of hard to do. Plus open strings sound different. So you can say, okay, play that, and that sounds kind of cool, right? And we get this B and then B down here, right? So some pretty cool concepts derived. I think that's so important, to take. And I had a really good question quite a few weeks ago on just like learning tunes, and so it sort of reminds me to think about sharing how I've learned tunes and how I continue to learn tunes, um, and that is to take examples of what other folks do and have done, and also just to think about the lineage, of guitarists and recorded music. At this point in time, we have so much documentation. I mean, on the one hand, it's sort of unfortunate that we don't have um, more documentation, of the classical period and recorded music, um, or other things. But at this point, we have a pretty decent size of um, recorded music. So, like a couple weeks ago, we were listening to Charlie Christian and the Rose Room solo, which, by the way, I plan to do a video on. And then this week we're looking at and listening. Well, I'm listening, so hopefully other folks are listening too. But listening to those recorded samples and stylistically, what has changed and um, what folks' note choices are and things like that. So anyhow, kind of getting to listening to tunes, listening to how folks do certain things. So that's what we tend to focus a little bit more on in overview and analysis, is doing a little bit of analysis in general and overview of tunes, but also analyzing folks and their playing, and getting a sense for what to do or what we can do, or um, you know sometimes music, it's sort of a cultural thing too. So we might think, uh, what what we want to try, and go ahead and try it, and then to some extent, how is that going to be received in contemporary, in the contemporary consciousness of music. So, when we think about someone, contemporary, like Earl Klugh, who's had a pretty long career at this point, but um, we can kind of take license a little bit, sometimes I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right, John says good tip on the open strings. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really great sound. It's a really great way, to get some dissonance going. And dissonance is not, like kind of a bad thing. Like sometimes dissonance can be very like a pretty sound. Especially with major sevens, minor, minor major sevens. Right. It's like we have this say A minor major 7 here. How can we maybe tie in some more open strings? So I've got this A open. Let me share my neck here. So we could probably, you say, oh, I could make that open. And then I could say, okay, well, I want to maybe keep this note in. And well, that's kind of a cool sound, right? So let me show you that in case, or let me explain that in case you are interested in trying it out. So string 2, fret 3, finger 1, and then just a reminder, we're going to play the first string open. Right? And then finger 3, string 3, fret 5, finger 4, string 4, fret 6, and then we're strumming 5 strings. What a kind of cool sound there. Right. One thing I was checking out too, if you've seen some of my live streams from the past, over the summer, maybe it was late summer, I picked up a copy of Matheny's classical piece, Road to the Sun, which included the ensemble and also the solo pieces. So I was taking mostly looking at the solo pieces, and his use of open strings on that, and moving all these shapes up the neck and just kind of getting these open strings going, especially third string, maybe fourth string. So it's just a really kind of cool sound, to make those arpeggios and get that whole thing kind of going. All right, so maybe a couple of updates. It's been a little bit slow on the production side of videos, and so it's really on the forefront of my mind to get some more videos and things out. It's just it's been a kind of tough couple of weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and I was watching, or I was just noticing videos coming out with other YouTubers. I don't know if anybody follows Rick Beato here, but I occasionally watch some of his videos, and he's had some really important interviews, and he's very knowledgeable about music theory and guitar and piano and everything. So I just noticed that he like live streamed for something like 5 hours on New Year's Eve. So might get to that point sometime. I don't know. We'll see. But got young kids right now, and so I know he does have kids too. But I think his kids may be a little older than mine. Or I have at least one younger kid that uh, is not as independent. My older one is kind of breaking away or wanting to break away, wanting to hang out with the friends, peers and stuff. But anyway, I will be. I have some kind of technical things I need to do with my websites. I think this week, but hopefully midweek or so, I will have a new video out. Let's explore this a little bit more. Let's check this out some. So it's nice to have that low root note on that A. But let's just see if we can kind of make some stuff up. So one thing that's kind of interesting about guitar is that once you get, so you have A here and A here. This is one of our unison notes. Let me make sure I'm not ignoring anybody on the other live platforms. Looking good. Okay. I just want to make sure no one commented and I'm not responding. So once you get above this tone here, you have a higher note than this one. Right. So that can still be a little bit muddy there, but you can play this tone up here. You can play a major 7. You're really kind of getting high up there now. So you might say, okay, major 7, maybe the 5th, maybe the 6th. Gonna run out of fingers here soon. Maybe the 9. That's kind of hard to do. Anyway, you kind of get the idea. You can take these different tones and get the 9, get an 11. Okay, so there we get the 9. So that's kind of cool. So let's say you take a shape like that. You say, okay, kind of like that. Try to memorize it. So if you're interested in this, I'll point these out. So finger 1 on fret 1, finger 2, or sorry, finger 1, fret 10, string 1, string 2 will be open. Finger 2 on string 3, fret 11. Finger 4 on string 4, fret 14. So that's kind of cool. Look at that. So you can say, okay, maybe I like the sound here, and what was I playing down here? Something like that. And then maybe switch around, and so it'd be kind of cool too. All right, everybody. I'm gonna hang out for a few more minutes. Hope everybody's enjoyed this talk. Provide some tips and things. So, a couple things I want to do. I want to do this Rose Room solo by Charlie Christian. Tony, hi Tony, how's it going? Thank you. Tony says good work. Shalom from Brazil. Thanks, Tony. Welcome. And I want to do some more Brazilian tunes. So speaking of Brazilian, Brazil. Another little kind of takeaway, which we talked about, and the as we were checking out Earl Clue, is the concept of kind of changing a chord quality. So let's say you're playing G, and then we get this C7, which we're kind of putting in there, and then maybe playing B minor 7 flat 5. Now, what happens when you play a B minor 7 flat 5? So if you want to check this out with me, put this out. So finger 1 on string 1, fret 1. Okay. Finger 2 on string 5, fret 2. Finger 3 on string 3, fret 2. And finger 4 on string 2, fret 3. So that's actually the same shape that we did over here. Well, it's not the same shape, sorry, but it's the same notes. So if we kind of survey these, try to listen and try to recall those. That's the same thing here. Okay. Now, what if we keep all that and then we add this D sharp here? We get this really dense kind of chord, and then you might ask yourself, is that a flat 4? Or is the whole chord more like a B 7 sharp 9 flat 5? Right. That's sort of an interesting topic too, because if you have a scale, let's say B, let's say you're doing B or working with B, and you have the altered scale. Another name for that is the superlocrian. So it kind of makes sense that a minor 7 flat 5 superlocrian, that, because we're hopefully, if you're not, no problem, but locrian, right, has that flat 5 and the flat third. So if you're not familiar with that, try to familiarize yourself with that. But the superlocrian, if you kind of just go by the numbers, so root, flat 9, flat 3, flat 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7, and then back to the root. So kind of from a purely, I hate to use that word, but from a more like kind of theoretical by the numbers sort of thing, you're going to use the seven notes, right? But usually in context, we think about the D there as a sharp 9, in the context of like a B altered. So just have flat 9, sharp 9, 3. Okay. And then so then we have, so root, flat 9, sharp 9, 3. So we have two names for that. And then we say, okay, well, could call this a sharp 4. Okay, well then we might call this sharp 5 and flat 7. So notice we lost a number there. So there are certain circumstances where the kind of the theoretical part that kind of has some little kind of maybe anomalies like that. Or you might say with the ear, it's going to tell you maybe something a little bit different. So if you want to check out this chord a little bit, this is kind of a cool chord. You take, let's say finger 1 on string 3, fret 2, finger 2 on string 6, fret 3, and finger 4 is probably the most comfortable. Finger 4 on string 4, fret 4, and then we get those open strings again. Kind of cool. So that's the chord that I ended on, and I was playing around a little bit with the A over the G, and then maybe putting this one makes it a little more consonant, sort of 6/9 there, and then the sharp 11 there, and then you could play like this or this. You could also play this, which gives you a big full chord. You get the fifth, 7, 9, 3, 15. What if we did this? If you're interested in that one, I'll point that out. So that's finger 1 on string 3, fret 2. Finger 2 on string 6, fret 3. Finger 3 on string 5, fret 4. And then finger 4 on string 4, fret 4. And then we get all these strings. It's pretty cool. Get a lot of tones there. A lot of unique tones. What do we get? Like 6. Also, kind of mix those up too. Never got very fluent with this, but maybe I'll try to work on it. With the idea of doing some of those artificial harmonics. Kind of cool. Set the string in motion. And you kind of do the harmonic plucking with the thumb, hold the harmonic. Other than, so you could pluck with the thumb on the string, touch the string without pressing it down, just kind of hear the difference there. I used to do that when I played some, especially solo guitar, kind of casual restaurant sort of things. I would say kind of end. It's kind of a nice ending sort of thing. Sort of inspired. When I was a teenager, I was really inspired by Lenny Breau and still am, of course. But some of the things that he really developed that technique to a real high level. And then one of his contemporaries, Tal Farlow, which if you get any chance to check out some videos, there's some video of those two kind of getting together and playing a little bit. It's kind of neat to see. I wonder if I have that probably on VHS somewhere. I should digitize that. But Tal Farlow, he would do like single lines, like whole solos doing that. So that's pretty cool. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and appreciate your support. And every sort of interaction, so at least on YouTube or really anywhere, just watching is helpful to the channel. Or I shouldn't say just watching, but simply watching on the channel, watching the videos is helpful for the channel. Share with your friends who play guitar or who want to learn guitar. And engagements like hitting the like button, of course, subscribing, and all that, very helpful for the kind of the growth of the channel. And so I appreciate all of that. And I hope everybody has a great day. Also taking a lesson, from time to time, or even regular lessons, can help me get an indication that that the pursuit on the internet is something that's helping folks out. So John says, thanks for braving the cold and the basement studio. I appreciate it. Yeah, I have this little infrared light, not infrared light, but infrared heater that's kind of up above me. So that does help. I probably should have turned that on a little earlier than I did. So now I'm feeling kind of okay. Feet are cold, but my fingers are feeling a little warmed up. But I appreciate that, John. Thanks for watching. All right, everybody. I will see you all in the next video, and hopefully keep an eye out for Rose Room video. Hoping, or I'm going to create a goal to get that out at least midweek or by the end of the week. So have a great day. Have some really good practice sessions, and I will see you all in the next one.